Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders Offbeat.
Ho, ho, ho.
Oh, where are they at?
Right here, baby.
Oh my gosh, it's that time of year almost.
I'll be your triple ho.
Ooh.
Yep,
We came up with a good movie the other day and we were going to call it Ho Ho Ho.
we were.
What was it?
Well, I'm not going to tell people. They'll rip off my great idea.
Oh my God, they're going to steal the title now.
Well, I'm not worried about that.
Oh yeah, I'm Dylan.
I'm a jingle bell.
And she's Heather.
I'm a fucking jingle bell. What's up?
And she don't give a fuck.
Nah, not too much today. How's it going, bruh?
I'm doing good. How do you think our listeners are doing out there on this hump day?
Hopefully they're a little bit warmer than I am right now. My feet are cold.
Oh my God, again with the cold feet.
I have like the coldest feet right now.
Well,
we have no insulation in our floors. Like underneath the flooring is terrible.
We live in a rental and the floors are cold. You know what?
And it's an old ass house.
I've always been in houses like that. Never lived in a house with nice central air and, super good heat. It's always cold around the edges. I just grew up like this.
Because we po.
I just grin and bear it.
Well, we're not really, but it's just everything's so fucking expensive around here and old as hell.
Well, when you're not sure if you're going to stay in the area for, a long, long time, do you want to buy? In this economy, what are you going to do? You're going to rent a house with cold-ass feet.
I guess so, yeah.
Because it's a good price.
I just feel like I start getting cold in November and I don't warm up until like May. I just stay cold.
Could you live in a cold climate?
No.
I don't. You used to be like, fuck it, let's go and try it. But I just don't think you'd make it.
If I had one of those snowsuits that is like the jumpsuit that zips up, like the little kid in the Christmas Story, that's like so padded he can like not even put his arms down, He's just
Come on, Ralphie.
Yeah.
Wait
well,
up.
I think it's Ralphie's little brother is the one that's all like...
Yeah, I know, and that's what he's hollering at him, is it because he like falls over and can't get up. And...
Yeah, now if I had an outfit like a little suit like that and I was all padded, like I could probably live in a cold climate.
And I'd have to zip you in it and like tuck you in it and get you all ready and wrapped up.
Like a little nest inside my snowsuit.
Oh my God. You want a portable nest?
Yes.
The bed's not enough?
Are you going to tell him about my nest?
About the Heatherito I come back to every morning when I work nights?
Yeah.
Dude, she is like so wrapped up and she has like 5 blankets on the bed. I'm totally going to get you a weighted blanket. I think you could use that, even though I wouldn't want to lay under that, but it can be yours. And she just all wrapped. It's like she laid on the very edge of the bed on top of multiple blankets and rolled across the bed. And then went to sleep.
I do. It's my blanket burrito.
Oh, my God.
I love it.
He messed the sheets up, too.
And you're always like, what's with all the pillows and the blankets? And he says, I'm building a little nest.
Yeah, and I think it's some kind of weird, was it effigy? Is that right? Something
that's a term.
that resembles the appearance of someone. You burn it or you carry it around. I think it's like an effigy of me, the pillows and stuff.
Like I'm trying to create like a fat pillow monster in the bed.
Yeah.
To snuggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I think that's what's going on.
I've always been like this. Maybe I was just waiting, like as a child, waiting for my prince to come.
Okay, so it's a time for a moment of pure honesty with our listeners.
Okay.
I tried to put something together for this offbeat, and we started doing it, and Heather's like, that's stupid, and you suck.
I did not say that.
She said what I was doing, the article, the list I was reading was kind of bland and stupid.
I didn't say that. I just said it was like a little boring.
And she just basically was like,
do you want me to be honest with you? Or do you want me to let you put out some content that's terrible and have our listeners write terrible reviews that are like, Dylan is a big stupid head. He's a dummy face. He's got barf breath. Nobody likes him.
Barf breath?
Yeah.
They're going to talk to me like you talk to me?
Yeah.
No, I could never let them down. So thank you for being honest with me and basically telling me that I suck.
And quit trying to act like I verbally abuse you. You're a masochist and you like it.
I'm not. Please, may I have one more?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
Please, one more insult.
He's like, please be cruel to me one more time, mistress.
One more fat joke.
Yes.
Put your cigarette out on my tongue.
I don't smoke.
Well, you could light one and do it.
I'm fat too. So
if that was my thing, would you do it?
We chunky.
Would you like get the cigarette going and then put it out on my tongue?
Well, if that was your thing, I wouldn't do it. I would deprive you just because you like it.
Some of that gets pretty intense pretty quickly. That
does it?
S&M stuff.
Does it?
Well, don't you think?
Is this the time or place to have this discussion?
Well, like a stiletto heel anywhere around your scrotum? That's scary.
I feel like this is like a private conversation that we should have later.
I trust our listeners.
Okay.
Well, hey,
Well,
Dylan just came up with next week's Offbeat.
yeah, we'll have a video accompanying next week's Offbeat episode. It is Wednesday, and that means it is time for Offbeat. We are going to veer a little bit from our true crime and paranormal. We're going to talk about some early Appalachian settlers and some of their Christmas traditions.
Oh,
Now, their celebrations look a little different than they did back in the day, but we still carry on some of those Christmas traditions, into 2020.
so since we're talking about old Appalachian traditions, that reminds me of where we went yesterday. To the oldest bridge in South Carolina, is that right?
We did. The Poinsett Bridge,
Yes, and it's literally a rock arched bridge,
built in
And-
1820,
a dirt path, and it was the road.
from Greenville, South Carolina to Asheville, North Carolina. Can
Man,
you imagine 1820 is when it was built, taking that dirt road around the windy mountain with like a horse-drawn cart?
no, because right there where the bridge is, and you can, it's basically left. Either end of the road looks kind of like just a dirt path.
Or a wagon or whatever you want to call it.
And if you're not familiar with the area, you come out of our area, which is quite a bit higher elevation.
They don't know what that means. Western North Carolina.
Yeah, so we're coming away from western North Carolina down into South Carolina, the Piedmont area, and so there's a big transition in elevation. And I can only imagine taking weeks, months in a horse and buggy if you're lucky to have a horse and a buggy. Some people walking, bro. That's crazy. Don't you love history?
Got them walking feet.
Oh, man.
Okay, are you ready to talk about some of these traditions, Dylan?
Yes.
First and foremost, fruitcake. Are you a fan of fruitcake?
I do not care for it.
Well, you might think fruitcake is like some gift you give to people you don't like now.
You re-gift it to someone you don't like because the person that gave it you, it proves they don't really like you.
Like your boss gives you a fruitcake and you're like, wow, thanks. And then you just like throw it out the window and accidentally like hit a nun off her bicycle and kill her, and then it just becomes a whole thing.
Yeah, because it's like a hard fruitcake and it's dangerous.
Actually, when I was working in radio, we had a morning show, and there was a specific episode we did very close to Christmas where we ate fruitcake on air because some of my coworkers had never had a fruitcake. So we let everyone taste it, try it out, and the reactions were funny.
So, do you like fruitcake?
I don't mind fruitcake. Actually, my great-grandmother made fruitcakes, and they were the tits, and she made her own wine. Like, she made grape wine. She had grapes, and she would make this fruitcake, and she would soak, like, the cheesecloth and all that in this, like, homemade wine, and it was pretty good. And she had all the candied fruits in there and the nuts.
Well, maybe a fresh fruitcake made at someone's house might be better than what I've experienced.
Well, I feel like the fruitcakes you buy in the store typically are kind of dry and crumbly, and, like, yeah, they're not as good. But, like, a homemade fruitcake, I think they're pretty fucking good.
I think there's one factory in the world where they make all the fruitcakes.
Of course, inside I'm also secretly like a 90-year-old crotchety old man, so of course I would like a fruitcake.
And some people either like don't care for it at all, or some people love them.
Yeah, they do.
And that's like my theory of candy corn. I think it was all made back in like 72, and there's some huge warehouse, a secret location full of candy corn.
They just keep all the candy corn there,
and they just keep
stockpiled it.
Yes.
And that's like it's like in a silo.
Yes.
And every year they just like dump an
allotted amount,
little buckets into the little candy plastic containers and mail that out.
Oh
Is that
my
what you're
God.
saying?
Do you like candy corn?
No,
That's gross.
I'm not. It's like waxy.
It's just the
There's
texture.
some like waxy texture. Yeah,
That's because it was made in 72.
I'm not a big fan of it.
No fresh candy corn.
Well, fruitcake was very important to early Appalachian people. They really thought of fruitcake as something different. A lot of people will call fruitcake, well, it's actually apple stack cake, but they'll call it fruitcake. An apple stack cake is about 12 hours. It takes about 12 hours to make it. But it's really popular in eastern Tennessee.
Oh, my God.
But really, any kind of cake that had fruit, that was so, like, delicious for these people because they weren't getting fruit very often. I mean, I know my grandma said growing up, like, to get an apple or an orange, like, if you had apple trees, yeah, you could have an apple, but they didn't have, like, bananas, oranges. Like, that was a treat.
Right.
And you had to like trade some eggs to get a bundle of bananas.
So if they got an orange or two and a couple pieces of peppermint,
Oh, that was like joyful Christmas.
because they didn't have that taste of sweetness or something like that all year long.
Yeah, they really didn't.
That's pretty wild.
So any kind of cake that had fruit in it was a really big deal for many of these Appalachian settlers.
Maybe that's why it's so ingrained in
Yeah.
some, parts of the country, that it's just such an old tradition.
Well, there are a lot of people who still will refer to Old Christmas, which is kind of a celebration that involved leaving your decorations up for a few extra days. I feel like some people in our neighborhood, some neighbors have maybe followed that tradition as they leave their Christmas lights up all year.
I was going to say, here in the South, we've taken that to the extreme.
They still have the Christmas wreath on the door in like July.
That's why you put up like a neutral color, like clear or something like that. It's not very obviously Christmas, and then it just looks like you're doing some cool outdoor lighting.
Well, the date was different, Old Christmas, because they had a change from one calendar to a new one in the 1500s. And so it took several hundred years for the whole world to adopt new dates. And Appalachian settlers took even longer. So they had different days of celebrating Christmas. And most people adopted the calendar that we go by now in the late 1800s, but they used Old Christmas as a way to stretch out their celebrations. So really, Old Christmas was just about keeping the festivities going.
Oh,
Instead
okay.
of celebrating like one day or Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, they would make like a week or 2 week long celebration.
Oh, well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It does, especially if you think about back in the day, they didn't really have a lot of entertainment. So any way to entertain yourselves, your kids, get with family, maybe have music, dancing, was like a big deal.
Well, yeah, I think nowadays when people think about like some barn dance or, some community gathering, some kind of festival, and that was such big deals to people back in the day because, like you said, they don't, on a daily basis, they're just, toil and trouble and work, and they don't get a lot of chance for entertainment.
And of course, Appalachian folk we're a pretty suspicious and superstitious crowd, and that's okay. And there are actually some Christmas superstitions in Appalachia. Have you ever heard about a cricket on the hearth?
No.
Don't kill it because it's good luck.
So is that's the right in front of the fire, the hearth area?
So if you hear a cricket in and around that area, don't kill it.
Okay.
It's going to bring you good luck.
Well, I feel like he is a lucky cricket to be so close to the fire, but he's still chirping.
Crickets roasting on an open fire.
It's a good source of protein.
Mosquitoes nipping at my toes.
If you're in a survival situation.
Yeah. And animals, there is a superstition, a legend, a myth, I'm not sure what you'll call it. The animals allegedly talk at midnight on Christmas.
That's just your drunk uncle.
I mean, could be. Or maybe if you go out in the barn, the hog's going to look at you and be like, hello, bitch.
Oh, God.
Don't eat me, bitch.
You don't like bacon?
No.
Bitch.
Moo, bitch. Candles in the window is still a pretty common Christmas decoration. A lot of people will have, you see like, especially those electric candles. I remember my Nana had those when she was alive. And they would sit in the window and you plug them in and you'd have, like all the pretty candles in the window. And they weren't like real. They obviously didn't have a flame.
Right.
You'd burn the house down or
but
something.
you can do a real nice, I'm all for doing whatever. I kind of like to be kind of tacky with the Christmas decorations when I do it. But you can do a really nice contemporary.
Since we've been married, he's never done it. So I don't know anything
Yeah, well,
about
it was years ago when
Okay,
I was
Clark.
gonna do lights.
Back when you cared.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you've saved all this, misanthropic
Ooh.
behavior for our marriage, Dylan.
Anywho,
Yeah.
before I was so rudely attacked, you can do a really nice contemporary decorative look. Wait, is contemporary like traditional?
No, it's like modern.
Oh, fuck.
I'm buying you a thesaurus.
Oh,
for
okay, so you can do a
Christmas.
very nice traditional look with the candles and just a simple big wreath and like a little bit of red, maybe some garland or such. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about.
Some ribbons.
Them big houses with the 2 stories and they got lots of windows and yeah. Now you're just making fun of me.
Some holly.
Yes, you know the look.
Dylan's mistletoe belt.
Yeah, it's like Kevin McAllister's house. What the hell did his dad do for a job?
I know. I've wondered about that myself because that is a nice ass house they live in.
That's a
and
nice.
they've got like 10 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he takes like his big family and his all these people
We're
to Europe.
going to Paris for Christmas.
That's like $100,000 trip, bruh.
I know. WTF, man. Show what it's really like. We all go down to great grandma's trailer that's in Grammy's backyard.
Yeah, the gathering is
and
at.
we gather around the kerosene heater.
It's at whatever relative that's been the longest before there was some big argument or something. You know, like everybody will begrudgingly go there, and it's like neutral territory, but then there's still tension the entire time. Like the kids don't notice it because they're getting presents and shit, but then all the adults are like, you know, around the edges there as the kids are unwrapping their shit, and somebody might be drinking or
You
somebody's
make
out.
it sound like you grew up in a dysfunctional family.
No, this is Christmas, right? This is how people are.
Well, yeah, it's Christmas in my family.
It's Christmas in a lot of families.
Well, I have to say, so growing up, I had divorced parents, thank God. And
that means twice the Christmas.
Dad's family, I mean, we had like my Nana, and that we always went to her house. You know, it was like the cousins, my aunts, uncles. Like we always went to my grandma's house and had Christmas. It was usually Christmas Eve because, you know, the grandkids needed to be home Christmas morning, that kind of thing.
It's like going to Big Mama's house for Sunday dinner, right?
Kind of. So, you know, that was the tradition. And then in my mom's family, we kind of moved around every year. Like, you know, each year someone different, like it was always hosted like by a different person. Like sometimes we might go to grandma's house, sometimes it might be my mom's or my aunt's, you know, that kind of thing. But there was always tension, like among the siblings.
Oh.
Yeah. And then my dad's family, it was always normal, but my dad was really the only one that ever like would show his ass. Like I remember he got drunk once on Christmas and my grandpa threw him out of the house. It was really funny.
My God. So you've had
and totally dysfunctional. I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. I don't know.
At Thanksgiving, you had the turkey in the front yard getting eaten by the neighbor's dog.
Yeah.
And at Christmas, your dad's getting thrown out by his father.
I make no bones about my dad's an asshole. And if you're listening, Dad, you know it's true. Yeah, so...
Your dad's not listening to a podcast.
No, but he did one time listen to an episode, and he was like, you guys would do better if you didn't use all that foul language.
No shit? Did he listen to one?
Yeah, and I said, well, how else am I going to describe Ed Kemper's skull fucking his mother?
What the fuck?
He don't like that.
What the fuck, Joe?
You shouldn't have all that bad language and cussing on your podcast.
Good Lord. Leave it to your dad.
Yeah, I mean, he's just hateful. Well, this was around the time that he and my mom had just split up. Not a good divorce.
You know, I wanted
Mostly because he's a peckerhead.
I wanted a solid father-in-law I do cool shit with.
And you just met like a racist prick. Sorry. Yeah, so they had just like separated, divorced. He was still in his feelings about that. Managed to drink a bunch of moonshine. It's like Christmas, snowing outside. He gets really drunk and he's like showing his ass, and my papa was like, you need to leave. And he was like, arr. So my papa, like, and I've never seen my papa be like an aggressive person, just sort of like picked my dad up by like the shirt collar and like tossed him outside.
Like literally?
Yeah. Well, I'm probably 12, maybe 11, and I was just like, whoa, watching this whole thing go down. And my dad's like, well, whatever, fuck y'all, or whatever, and I'm leaving. And he had on like no shoes, no coat, and starts walking like he's leaving and gonna walk down the road. And I just remember being like, but you don't have any shoes on.
Oh my God.
It's snowing.
That's what a kid would say.
And then
too.
people are like, oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. He's the one that's gonna get the flu. He's gonna get pneumonia. Because I mean, it didn't really bother me. I was used to him being crazy, but yeah.
Well, shit. Pack your stuff.
That's my dysfunctional Christmas story. That's one of a few. I've got others, but we won't go there.
We'll wait till next
So
year.
we're back to talking about candles in the window. Now that I've told you about my dysfunctional, like, traumatic childhood. And if you feel sorry for me, our PayPal is mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. You can pitch in to buy me a Snoopy snow cone maker that I never got as a child.
That would make her feel better,
It
guys.
would make me feel a lot better.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about candles in the window. I mean, yes, they're very pretty to see, but if you think about the old timers, it was a necessity. I mean, they needed to see. And of course, it gets dark early in the wintertime. So they would have a lot of candles in the window in the winter months. And often the candles were assigned to visitors that people were home and like awake and, hey, come on over. It was like a welcome visitor sign.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool if you think about it.
Yeah, it's also dangerous, I bet.
Probably. Now the candles are usually electric or battery powered, and some people do consider it important to continue lighting up their windows for Christmas. Hence the electric glow of the leg lamp in the window.
I want a leg lamp.
Fragile.
I want a real one, though. I don't want some of these fake reproductions I've seen.
So something that Appalachian folks did, and I guess it's maybe a little bit like caroling, but they called it serenading. And it was like a mischievous Christmas tradition where they would sneak up to their friends' or neighbors' homes and start singing or yelling. And if they surprised the family, common courtesy was that the family would give them some kind of little gift or treat.
You know, I think I may be wrong, but I think the whole Christmas Carol thing was born of long, long ago when you had like regular folk and then you had the rich folk, and regular folk would get drunk as hell and then go like basically harass the rich folk and, you know, stand outside their house all grouped up and loudly sing some drunken Christmas carols.
Why do I feel like this is something that Dylan would do? Okay, this is what I'm imagining, guys. So just clear your brains and let's take a little trip. Imagine Dylan, and he's all decked out in his ugly Christmas sweater, and maybe he has like some little red earmuffs on, little rosy cheeks, looking a little bit like Santa Claus. Not quite the full white beard yet.
No.
Just patchy Santa, right? And you're drunk. You've been drinking. You've been throwing back some tall boys because that's what you do.
No, that's for drunk. I don't remember the last time I was drunk.
I do. It was not that long ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
He's a liar. So, you know, you get hammered. Like maybe you're drinking some whiskey and you become a real asshole. But you're hammered and you decide you're going to walk over to like the wealthy neighborhood and you're going to start caroling. And the homeowner brings you out like a container of pot roast, like some leftovers, just to get rid of you. And then Dylan's really excited because he's like, hell yeah, pot roast. And so then you're just like standing in front of their house. You stop singing, but you're just like eating the pot roast with your fingers.
So now I'm drunk eating?
Yeah.
And it's like 1:30 in the morning.
There's like gravy on the roast, and then you get it all over your Christmas sweater, and then here comes like some, you know, cops, and they're like surrounding you.
And then I get sick.
Yeah, and then they put you in the back of the cruiser, and you've got gravy all over your face.
Yeah, and as they're cramming me into the back of the cruiser after, you know, rough me up a bit, I'm just like, jingle bells, jingle bells.
No, what?
Fuck you.
Now, this is what you do, Dylan. As they're putting you in the back of the cruiser, the cops, Dylan starts singing, "It's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you." And then you start singing like a dashing through the snow in my cop car. No.
You should have stopped short. You were doing good.
See, I feel like our listeners, that was a good visual for them.
I think I would, for one, I would never intrude on someone else like that. That's totally against my personality.
If you thought there was like a pot roast with some gravy, you would go do that.
I can cook my own food. Plus, you cook good. I don't have to go drunkenly carol in front of people's houses in the air quotes rich part of
so
town.
Now you're like, I don't entertain hypotheticals.
No, I don't.
Even though you've asked me like stupid questions like, what would you do if you had like a 35-foot dinosaur tail and little tiny T-Rex arms and you needed to make a salad? What would you do?
Well, I think that's a sound hypothetical. That's a good thought exercise.
Mistletoe. Of course, we all know what mistletoe is and what it represents. But mistletoe was really popular in old Appalachia because it was super easy to find. It grows on trees in our area and is fairly easy for people to pull down. Either you climb up in the tree or you could even shoot it out of the tree.
Wait, now is that the holly bush?
The mistletoe?
Yeah.
Is not a holly bush, honey.
Really?
So actually, can I mansplain to you?
Are you going to do the actually?
Well, actually, a mistletoe is a parasitic plant, and it grows on apple, oak, and other broadleaf trees.
Oh, okay.
And so holly is like a shrub, an evergreen shrub, and then this grows on trees.
Oh, interesting.
So not the same thing.
So it could be way up in the tree, and you shoot it off of a branch or something.
Just call me Mr. Wizard.
Wow. Yeah. I did not know that mistletoe was an invasive species.
Well, now you have learned something on our podcast. Yeah, I guess mistletoe is like the new kudzu.
That's interesting.
It's so hot right now.
Kudzu sounded like a really great idea when they were going to use it for land cover.
Have you ever kissed someone under the mistletoe?
No, but I kissed this chick under the kudzu one time.
Did you?
No.
You found out it was actually poison ivy?
Yeah, well, we just were hanging out.
Or is that just what you say when you have to explain how you got that itch?
We were hanging out by the kudzu and for a couple hours. Next thing you knew, it grew all around us. When it's in prime conditions, it can grow up to 2 feet a day.
Womp, womp.
Okay, so how did, who decided to kiss under this parasitic plant?
Why do you always ask me these random questions like I just suddenly have the answer for you?
Well, just so we could see, this is a hypotheticals we get entertained in our brain.
Let me Google thatforyou.com.
No, you should just in your mind come up with a scenario of the first mountain man. Like, I'm going to kiss, if I can just get that.
He was like, I'm going to kiss you, girl. And then just happened to be under a tree with some mistletoe.
Oh, my God.
No?
That was offensive to me and I'm from this area.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Dude, you're not country. I'm country.
I'm country as fuck.
He's not. So actually, Dylan, kissing under the mistletoe started in ancient Greece.
Okay.
So it's been around for a long time.
That makes sense.
And it was part of their like Saturnalia festival. And later it was used in marriage ceremonies. And it had an association with fertility. Is there any fucking thing else you want to ask me? Mr. Question? What am I, Alex Trebek over here?
And that's not mansplaining you're doing. That's the well actually guy. So just so you know, I mansplain that to you.
I'm going to mansplain what it means to throw something at your head like a stapler. Okay, so the Christmas tree, we all, probably know the tradition of the Christmas tree, and it's rooted in paganism.
Yes, it is.
People in old Appalachia didn't go to a tree farm, and they didn't have artificial trees. They actually had to go saw the trees down, and it was usually like pine or cedar trees, and they used some other greenery like pine cones or mistletoe to decorate the trees in their homes.
I will tell you from personal experience, a little small 5 to 7 foot tall cedar makes a fine little Christmas tree.
Does it?
Yeah, so what's interesting, once you bring it in the house and it warms up, the boughs kind of because the cedars kind of curves up, they kind of let loose and straighten out. And it has a fine shape to it.
Well, we come from an area that is known for its Fraser fir Christmas trees.
It's true.
Jackson County, which is the next county over, is famous for its Fraser fir trees and has a lot of Christmas tree farms. Many of the White House Christmas trees have actually come from this area.
Yeah, they grow them all around, and they grow some really beautiful trees. There's some nice. They like to be up on the banks. You can see the whole little tree farm. It's pretty cool to look at.
I like to drive around some of the tree farms and just check them out. I think it's pretty.
Yeah, I think as you get out towards Boone and stuff, it's even more prevalent. I'm not sure.
Now, of course, there are lots of different tree options. People go to local tree farms. We have the artificial trees, and of course, you can get those in pretty much any color of the rainbow.
You know what? Next year, we're going natural.
I really loved my great-grandma's tree. It was like from the 60s or the 50s, and it was one of those metal trees that would like cut the shit out of you, like the aluminum tree, and it was silver. It was so gnarly. And when she passed, I wanted that tree. And my dad was like, that thing's rusty. You don't need that. And wouldn't let me have it from her house.
Oh, you could have painted it.
But do you know what I would give to have one of those old school metal, retro Christmas trees?
I bet you could find one.
I feel like we could make our own with some aluminum foil. I'll make my own little Charlie Brown version of it.
Well, it sounds like I could just weld some spikes together and stand it up in the house.
Yeah. I want a Christmas tree made out of spikes. No. Merry Christmas.
No.
Is Krampus going to come and beat us with some sticks?
I'm going to find you a Christmas tree just like your grandma's tree.
Oh my God, I would love that. It would mean so much to me.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, the fir, the evergreen, was a symbol of good luck, and all the way back to the pagans.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tidbit.
Yes.
Christmas cards. I mean, back in the day, it was pretty difficult for people to send Christmas cards because post offices were pretty sporadic, few and far between. But it was still a great tradition that people liked wishing their friends and families, neighbors, Merry Christmas or Happy New Year. And now, of course, a lot of people send Christmas cards, but I actually wonder if that's on the decline. I feel like 10, 15 years ago, I would get Christmas cards, and now I feel like none of my friends send Christmas cards. They mostly will send, like, the few I do get are, like, digital. Like, they'll email me a Christmas card.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just what's happening. And what was the other? We talked about another tradition that was basically, going to die. Oh, it was like having the toys, the bikes, the boats, the campers, and stuff of that nature, because people just don't have as much disposable income nowadays. And then the younger generation, they're just not into it.
Also, Dylan, some other Christmas traditions that were popular in Appalachia is the Christmas story. People still talk about the Christmas Eve, and they read that Christmas story sometimes from the Bible, with their friends. And it was really common in Appalachia. The tradition was the family would sit around Christmas Eve, and the patriarch of the family would read the verses from the Bible. And then this tradition evolved to allow children to read from the family Bible. But a lot of people have kind of abandoned this tradition, and they read the Christmas story, probably the classic that you're thinking about, The Night Before Christmas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, I know that when I was a kid, that was a tradition, and so we read The Night Before Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. I love that story. You don't?
No, I don't mind the story. It was just nobody read it to me, man. Of course, I was having Christmas at tax time in March, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that when we're going to have Christmas?
Maybe.
I'll buy you a tax time present.
Well, you always call me a humbug.
You are
this time of year.
You are a humbug.
I'm not even being a humbug.
And I'm not even the most like Christmas cheery person, Dylan, but you're like an old fucking Scrooge.
That's not true.
Oh, hell ain't mine, no person.
I don't mind. Well, the economic pressure that people put on themselves during this time of year, I just don't think. Yes, I don't mind buying some nice stuff for the people I care for. I don't mind that at all.
He does mind.
If you can do it. Some people just put so much stress on themselves. And it's like your kids and family's still going to love you, dude, just because you don't get that one present.
Now,
I know some people
agree with what you're talking about.
Through extra
this
lengths.
Consumer-driven Christmas.
To make
celebration.
Christmas special and magical for the children. And I appreciate that. Some people I say it's harder and harder nowadays to keep it going. But hell, I've known kids that was 13 going on 15 years old and just now figuring out that Santa Claus ain't real. And on top of that, this dude getting all the credit.
Santa gets all the credit?
Yeah. And you're out there busting your ass, scrimping and saving, getting by, getting blood out of a turnip.
Look, Santa Claus and his old lady are doing it right.
And I think those elves should unionize and get safe working conditions.
Some of the other Christmas traditions that maybe have fallen by the wayside, there might be a few that are still observed today, but was meat for the table. A lot of Appalachian people would go hunting, and some people would actually go hunting like the day before Christmas or even Christmas Day was a tradition. And they liked a Christmas goose, which I don't think too many people eat Christmas goose now.
Well, maybe not in this part of the country.
Oh, you think there are people everywhere else that eat it, though?
There might be somewhere there's a bunch of geese.
There's some people in Idaho that's eating a goose right now, Dylan.
We can go down there to Lake Junaluska and shoot at some of the Canadians.
Often their hope when they would go Christmas hunting was to find wild turkey or maybe even a wild boar. And families would often pull out like a country ham that they had preserved with salt that they were saving. It was like a special treat. And they might choose to slaughter the eldest chicken in the hen house to provide holiday meat.
Oh, sounds like that chicken's going to be a little tough.
So the meat on the holiday dinner table was a very important tradition in Appalachia. And, of course, getting into the holiday spirit, pretty much Dylan's favorite way. Business boomed for moonshine producers at the holidays.
Well, you got to go out there by the bar and have you a couple of sups.
Nips.
Couple of nips.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That. Yeah, my great-granddaddy, who was real country, he would drink apple brandy.
Ooh.
Yeah, he would make apple brandy, and that was like what he would go get some nips of.
Now, that brandy's quite a bit smoother than the straight-out corn liquor, the White Lightning.
Yep. So not only did folks purchase moonshine as a gift, businesses sometimes would give it to employees. How cool is that?
Yeah, I want to work there.
Instead of the Jelly of the Month Club, they're like, here's your jar of shine.
Can't open it till you clock out.
Quart jar. Some gave the gift in a handmade flask. Others would just hand it over in the bottle. And so moonshine was often a favorite gift that folks would get on Christmas Day. And they might even be inspired to go outside and fire off some celebratory shots in the air.
Oh, God.
Bang, bang!
Guns
Would you like
and
that?
moonshine.
Festive cannon fire. You know, I'm really upset that we don't have a fucking cannon. I guess in coal country, a lot of people would get their hands on small carbide cannons, or they would make one. And the hills would provide an echo that would go on for hours with these small cannons being fired. And of course, that tradition has faded, but, something fun to think about.
Well, yeah, I'd say that tradition faded about the time the cannon factories stopped production.
I know someone who has a cannon.
Is it homemade?
No, it's a real cannon. We shot it off like on 4th of July, and that shit was loud.
Shit's dangerous,
And it
bro.
was a huge cannon. Like, it was scary.
If it's got any stress fractures or anything, it could, literally disintegrate.
I don't know about all that, but...
Well, I'm saying.
So this is kind of a cool thing. Of course, we've all heard about letters to Santa. In Appalachia, children would write letters to Santa, and they would burn their letters in the fireplace. And the thought was that fairies would carry their message up the chimney and deliver it to Saint Nick.
Okay. Why not?
Handmade gifts. As you mentioned, Dylan, we've turned it into this incredibly consumer-driven holiday where people go into debt, feel like they have to do above and beyond, spend all this money.
At a certain point, they realized, Rockefeller and other people realized that they could tie these traditions in this, time of year. I think, people are closed up in the house. People are together. It's, cold outside mostly. And, yeah, I mean, they bastardized it, is what they did. No matter if you're religious or not, just the traditions and the sense of community and family and togetherness, that's all good stuff.
Well, I like this tradition, Dylan, and that's handmade gifts. I wish people would go that route more often these days.
Oh, what if I cut my hand off and mailed you that or wrapped it in as it's handmade?
That's pretty cool.
Would that be cool?
Are you going to have is your hand going to be in a jar like a wet specimen, or is it going to be taxidermy?
No, it's going to be taxidermy, and I'm going to do it with the finger flipping you off.
That's amazing. Oh my God, I fucking love that.
You do?
Yes.
Is that a sweet gift?
That's the best gift ever. That or a 67 Cadillac Fleetwood Hearse.
Oh. Okay, so you're evaluating my hand at around $3,500 to $4,500.
Dropping some hints there.
Nice.
Well, in Appalachia, a lot of folks were poor, dirt farmers and such, coal miners, and perhaps they couldn't make an order from the Sears and Roebuck wish book. Instead, family members would often make gifts to give each other. Rag dolls were stitched by hand, usually from old socks or scraps of clothing or cloth. They had toy figures and cars that were whittled from wood. Siblings would often make gifts for each other. And it was the love that went into the creation of those gifts that made it really special. And it didn't really matter how much it cost. As long as, you knew somebody had made you this gift and it was from the heart, that's what was important.
I think that's actually coming back around. Handmade, specialty, unique items. Because we are just in this world today, everything's so homogenized and easy to get and commercialized. Plasticky, cheap.
And maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but those gift sets that are always out in the stores at the holidays where it's lotions and body scrubs and body wash and that kind of thing, nobody wants that.
What else are kids going to get? Their parents. That's what those are for, let's be honest.
For kids to get their parents?
Yes. That's for kids to see it and be like, oh, fuck it, I'll get my mom or dad that, and I'm done.
I always just thought kids were here to give us a headache for Christmas.
Or the last-minute shopper typically being of the male persuasion. And he's going in there hoping there's a store open on Christmas Eve when he gets off work because he was forced to work.
Or those kits, it's 10 hot sauces or the 12 Days of Christmas, tea collection.
Hey, I'll take the 10 hot sauces. Some of those are pretty good.
Are they?
Yeah.
So you're saying you want one of those?
Don't you remember how stoked I was when we moved into the apartment and there was one of those kits up in the
Are
cabinet?
you going to tell them that?
Yeah, and they were unopened.
Someone had left behind their Christmas hot sauce kit. Dylan was tickled pink.
Dude, some of those were jumping. The garlic habanero was like that.
It was like that.
It was like that.
Oh, hell. So we were talking a little bit earlier about some of those decorations. Like people would use pine cones, mistletoe for their trees. But they would also make homemade decorations like popcorn chains. We actually talked about that the other day. You and I talked about the popcorn chains.
We did, and we both had experienced that at one point in our life, and we come to a conclusion. The reason people made popcorn chains back in the days because they had no other decorations. Because it's very time consuming.
Or they had nothing else to do.
Nothing, and they had a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah.
Because it's time consuming and it kind of sucks to do.
I remember my mom trying to do like the traditional country kind of Christmas tree, and we strung popcorn, and it seemed like for months, and it was horrible. Like I remember I had a needle and thread, and we would like pop all this popcorn, and oh my God, took forever.
It's cute though. Something cute to do with the kids.
Folks would also use real apples. They would take cotton and shape it into snowflakes. They would use any kind of like material that they had like scraps of to make little decorations. They would also make hand-carved ornaments. And sometimes candles might even be positioned on the tree, which sounds like a really bad idea.
Is tinsel even used anymore nowadays? Because that stuff makes a mess.
You know, I've seen tinsel, but what really made the mess, do you remember the boxes of like stringy, they called it like snowflakes or something?
Oh, yeah.
But it was just like a little long, tiny pencil thread string, and it was silver. No, icicles, I guess is what it was. I called snowflakes. Icicles. And you put that all over the tree. And that shit would be around for months.
The tinsel would be around at the edges of the carpet and stuff for till next Christmas.
And then if you had an artificial tree, you would put it away in the box and get it out and still have all those like icicles from the year before.
Oh, no, you can only do that.
And they're all ratty and like in knots and shit. Looks like what my hair would look like on Christmas morning when I was a little girl and had like the rat's nest in the back of my hair.
You can only do that with a real tree, so you can just toss it, bro. You got to toss it.
Sweet treats have always been an important part of Appalachia, especially Christmas traditions. Some people liked really simple yet delicious things like applesauce cakes and pies, as we mentioned, fruitcake being a really big like hot ticket item at Christmas. But other people enjoyed mincemeat pie. Have you ever had mincemeat?
No, I've always heard of it. I've never had a meat pie of any sorts.
Fudge.
Is it like a chicken pot pie?
I don't know, honey. I've never had mincemeat.
Isn't that a British thing?
Maybe one of our listeners can send us an email, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com, and let us know if you make mincemeat pie, if you have a recipe, and maybe tell us a little bit about why you like it.
Yeah, and we'll try out the recipe. Oh, it's a kidney pie that's British, right?
Maybe.
And they like pies over there, bro. Like meat pies.
They like meat pies. They like blood sausage.
Mangers
and mash.
Maybe some of that, it might be good. I just haven't tried it.
Okay, back to our story. Melt in your mouth fudge, which is a big tradition still in Appalachia. I know a lot of people who make Christmas candy, and it's like fudge is a staple. You always got to have the Christmas fudge.
You're going to get the fudge. You're going to get the peanut butter balls.
Like the Buckeyes that are like the peanut butter balls dipped in chocolate.
Yep.
Oh, I love those.
And you're going to get the no-bake cookies, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get them. I didn't say you had to like them.
Yeah, you'll get that.
And what's some other ones?
Well, my mom always made the pinwheels.
Yep.
It's like the white powdered sugar with the the haystacks. Divinity candy was considered really fancy.
What is that?
Back in the day? Well, actually, Dylan, let me explain to you what divinity candy is. It is a confection that is made with sugar, egg whites, corn syrup, and it's kind of like a nougaty substance. And it usually has some sort of chopped nuts or dried fruit on top. Some people replace the white sugar with brown sugar, and they call it seafoam candy.
Oh, okay.
Like, especially when you go places like Savannah, I think I've had seafoam candy there, but people will load it with like pecans or walnuts.
Well, it does sound...
I've had it before, and it's pretty tasty. I don't know exactly how to describe it other than just sort of giving you a rundown of the recipe.
That sounds fancy.
Well, it was considered a fancy candy at the time. And of course, fruitcakes we discussed, and people like to have a little bourbon with their sweet treats.
Oh.
You gotta do the wine and food pairing. So back in the day, you had to have your bourbon with your pecan pie or your pecan pie.
I don't know how good that would go together.
Actually, I've had a bourbon pecan pie, and it's pretty damn tasty.
Yeah, it works. Someone brought a rum cake in. You ever had a rum cake?
No. Did it have raisins in it?
No,
Okay.
it didn't. But apparently it had a good bit of rum in it. Because everyone had like a bit, because it was really tasty. Everyone had like a big slice of it. And then I'm afraid to say, I feel like we were a little intoxicated for a minute.
Do you like eggnog?
I do not care for it. The thought of it makes me gag.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Just curious.
Are you going to get rid of me because some of these things I don't like?
No.
Do you like eggnog?
I like homemade eggnog.
No, what liquor's in it?
I think whiskey. Why do you keep asking me all these questions like I just know the answers to everything?
Because you always do.
I'm pretty sure that it's whiskey that is placed in eggnog. Like, I've had it with Jack Daniels, I believe.
You're the most fact-filled person that I've ever known.
That is not true.
It's true.
No, I think the eggnog I had like the homemade eggnog is usually like with whiskey.
Maybe I should try some homemade, somebody's super good family recipe.
You can make it with bourbon as well.
But it's kind of thick, right?
You know, one of my favorite like winter drinks is a fucking hot toddy.
No, I like hot toddy.
And I have not had a hot toddy in so long, but they are stupendous.
I'm going to take you back to the bar in the county over that makes a great hot toddy and get you one.
Jackie, the bartender, does a great job with the hot toddy.
Man, especially if you're feeling stuffy and like nasally, have a mild cold, have you a couple of hot toddies, you're good to go.
Yeah, I wish I had one today, actually.
I wish I had one right now.
You can't have a hot toddy.
Well, I'm going to get a hot toddy.
You can't have one.
You can't stop me.
You will get out in the yard and try to fight Santa if you have a hot toddy.
That's a damn lie.
It's not.
Nobody even drinks that much hot toddy to be drunk.
Dylan will have a hot toddy, and the next thing I know, he's going to be caroling in somebody's yard trying to get a piece of like pot roast with some gravy.
You got any pot roast with gravy?
What'd you guys have for supper? Fa la la la. I want some of that chicken noodle soup. Wow, you seem very like excitable right now. So maybe it's time to wrap up the show.
Well, thank you for sharing those Appalachian traditions with us. Some of that was pretty cool.
You're damn welcome, sir.
What you boys want with that Fraser fur anyway?
What?
That's my deliverance line, but I made it Christmassy.
Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, again, I ruined everything. Heather hates me. And she pulled this Appalachian tradition story. Apparently she was just sitting on this cool stuff, guys.
You know it.
Man, she just got stories like falling out of her pants.
Well, you know, Dylan, what they say is piss poor planning leads to piss poor production. You always got to be ahead of the curve, right?
Oh, yeah?
You got to adapt and overcome.
So it's
part of that hillbilly tradition is that we're innovative, we're creative, and we can fix anything in a pinch.
So what you're saying is plan for the best, expect the worst. How's that go?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened when I married you.
No, how's the saying go?
I expected the worst, and I've yet to be disappointed.
That's a damn lie.
Yeah, you're right. I'm disappointed all the fucking time.
You're living your best life every fucking day with me.
Oh, it's true. It's like a carnival and circus.
I love you.
There's like elves in a workshop, like hammering toys and like the sounds of Christmas carols every day.
It's plan for the best, expect the worst. That's it, ain't it?
Okay.
All right.
What to expect when you're expecting Dylan.
Okay.
That's my new book title.
Books written about me.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up because I think Dylan's a little loopy. He's tired. He's worked all day. Hope everybody has a great week. And of course, the holidays are coming up. I hope that a lot of people are going to stay home, stay safe, mask up. It's getting scary out there.
I thought of something to say.
What?
I would ask that anyone, sends us some of their Christmas traditions in their family.
I would love to hear. Email us some of your Christmas traditions. Of course, you don't have to be in Appalachia.
No.
And you don't even have to celebrate Christmas. If your family
No.
celebrates Diwali or Kwanzaa, or you're Jewish, you celebrate Hanukkah, let us know some of the things that you do in your household for the holidays or to celebrate. Or maybe you're like, I don't celebrate anything. I sit at home with a pizza and I watch, bad comedy movies.
That's
and
a
tell
tradition.
us, because I think we could talk about it on a show. It'd be great.
Yes, so if you'll hit us up at mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com, we'd love to hear some of your family traditions, and we'd love to talk about
And
them.
don't forget, you can always access our bonus material at patreon.com/mountainmurderspodcast. You guys have a great day.